a doctoral candidate, like uh, Alan introduced me, and I'll be I'll be talking on radicalization and extremism on social media. What step can be taken? But before I will proceed, I would like to appreciate the organizer for this great event, Code for Africa, for giving me the opportunity to speak among great people like you. So, radicalization and extremism on social media, what step can be taken? Social media is transforming the world into an online village. There has been increased rise in the use of social media globally and other Web 2.0 applications, giving people the opportunity to communicate and network. This same media space has been leveraged upon by extremist groups to promote radicalization and extremism. Radicalization usually begins with individuals who are frustrated with almost everything in the society. Top of the challenge of this issue of radicalization in the 21st century is the incessant rise in the threat of radicalization, leading to violent extremism. For instance, recently in Nigeria, a student named Deborah Samuel from Shehu Shagari College of Education, Sokoto, was allegedly killed by some Islamic extremists for blaspheming their religious beliefs on WhatsApp, a social media platform. And this issue is still trending, as we all know. Social media, among other things, allow radicalization to take place even without the physical contact, which has been made possible by the internet and the social media in recent time. And if you can see from these charts, statistics provided by the Statista.com, Nigeria is leading the chart with 109.2 million, followed by Egypt 75.66 million. South Africa has 41.19 million. Morocco has 31.59 million. Ethiopia has 29.83 million. Algeria has 27.28 million. Kenya has 23.35 million. And Ghana with 16.99 million. These are the people who are on the social media space and the internet as well. And since social media contributes hugely to radicalization and extremism, it simply means that this increased number of users may likely give radicalization and extremism the opportunity to thrive due to the huge number of people on this social media space. Um, what step can be taken to curb the issue of radicalization and extremism? This talk will examine what steps can be taken to tackle the issue of radicalization and extremism in our society today. The research adopted significant secondary data, analyzing them, developing and expressing one's idea. The next books, newspaper, magazine, internet, and then used for discussing the issue at stake by the investigator, from which conclusion will be drawn. And in the
Hi.
three scholars were highlighted. Amit, hello.
Yeah.
Okay, now, why do people get radicalized? According to National Institute of Justice report in 2015, these are some of the factors why people get radicalized. Experiencing identity conflict, feeling there's lack of meaning in one's life, wanting status and wanting to belong, desiring action or adventure, uh, having experienced trauma before or currently experiencing trauma, having mental issues, or being emotionally unstable or troubled, being naive, or having little knowledge of religion and ideology, having strong religious beliefs, and having grievances, having feeling under threat, having an us versus them worldview, justifying violence or illegal activities as a solution to problem, having engaged in previous criminal activities, stressors, for example, family crises, being fired from jobs, societal discrimination or injustice, exposure to violent extremist groups or individuals, exposure to violent extremist belief system or narratives. These are some of the signs. Yeah, these are some of the reason uh, people get radicalized. So before I proceed, I don't know, or I should do the question and answer session at the end of the presentation, or I don't know if we should take a little break and do the question and answer session right now or at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, I think you can carry on, and then it seems like the majority would love you to carry on, and then we can do the question answer at the end.
Okay, there are some signs we see in people or group of people for us to say uh, these are signs of radicalization and extremism. Some of these signs outlined here, seeking out information on violent extremist ideology. You see people who are interested in being radicalized and venturing into extremism. You see them start going through information materials, seeking information on violent extremist ideology, withdrawing from the society or existing relationships, joining or staying in a violent extremist organization, making public statements about violent extremist beliefs, yeah, uh, expressing threats or the intent to engage in terrorist activities. We see this with people who have been exposed a lot to violent content. They have that zeal, that desire to want to replicate what they are saying, which is also a very good sign of radicalization and extremism. Engaging in preparatory activities related to an attack, e.g., training, obtaining weapons and materials, conducting surveillance. People who have interest or who are constantly exposed to violent content. You see them trying to get trained to join the group of extremist group and all that. The increased secretiveness. You see them who are people who have the tendency of becoming radicalized and eventually leading to extremism. You see them hiding a lot of information about themselves. You ask them some questions, they will just kind of turn it about and all that. So you see when you start seeing all those signs, you know that uh, somebody or a particular group of people want to you know being radicalized or migrate into extremism. However, Gibbon Children and Family Partnership argued that these signs do not necessarily mean people mean someone is radicalized, but it's an indication that something is wrong. Of course, when you start seeing this sign, it doesn't mean somebody is radicalized, but something starts always. Something starts from somewhere. So when you start seeing this sign, it is advisable to look to that person closely before it generates into a more serious problem. Um, there are some dangerous effects of radicalization and extremism in our society. If it is not a big problem, people wouldn't have been talking about it. Government have been sponsoring a kind of a kind of studies and programs and all that, so that they will know how to tackle the issue of radicalization and extremism in the society. And in this presentation, we look at some of the problem or the impact of radicalization and extremism in the society. There are several ways the action of those who are radicalized and get involved in extremism can be dangerous to people in the society as a whole, and they include physical, emotional, and psychological impact. You know, when the issue of radicalization and extremism happen, people get feel insecure. The anxiety of people increase. People become insecure as a result of the as a result of radicalization and extremism, and the normalization of violent action and rhetorics. What this means is that uh, constant exposure to um, constant exposure to violent content will give the possibility of such thing happening on a regular basis. It will be happening when you have that constant exposure or to violent content. The possibility of such thing to reinforce it in a physical, in making it real, the tendency is there. So the polarization, when the kind of a destruction action happen, individual what get stereotype when such thing happen. It tend to raise a tag on a particular group of people. Say, these people are known for this. These people are known for this. So in a society where such thing happens from a particular group of people who are doing this, we tend to what attract that stereotype to them. Just like most people start saying that they say the Islamic people they are known for peace, but the reverse is the case, as a lot of them are allegedly being violent as a result of religious beliefs and all that. Like we see in the instance that was cited earlier, case of Samuel, Deborah, and all that. So, and the reduction of trust, the issue of uh, extremism and radicalization tends to happen more often when people who perpetrate this thing have less trust for the government or have less trust for citizens, and these are some of the dangerous effects that tend to happen when a society is experiencing radicalization and extremism. Uh, the cruise or the cruise of our discussion today is what are the steps that can be taken to curtail this issue of radicalization and extremism on the social media space in our contemporary society. Yes, having established or having known that social media contributes tremendously in the process of radicalization and extremism, uh, as revealed by empirical studies, then what can be done about it? Because there must be a solution to the problem. If there is no solution, it will keep happening over and over again, and a lot of things will be going bad. So now, in order to tackle this, or in order to address the issue of radicalization and extremism on the social media space, where a lot of people have been on the space, a lot of people have been on the space. Now, what is the issue, or what is the method or the strategy that should be used in order to curtail the issue of radicalization and extremism, and some of the measures they outline. It is need for digital literacy. It is key. Digital literacy is key, where young people, young individuals can be taught how to communicate with others online in a respectful manner, comprehend the context of what they view, produce, participate in, and share online content in a responsible and safe and secure manner. Digital literacy is very important here. deleting extremist content from the web, controlling and filtering the information flows and user access on social media. Citizens, particularly the youth, who are most times those who are most times very vulnerable to radicalization and extremism, must be prepared to use online connection, leverage ICT and digital networks as a benchmark for achieving peace and sustainable development. Instead of using the social media for negative things, it should be leveraged to leverage upon to use it for what? For achieving peace, which is a very good condition for sustainable development, because where there is no peace, there is no development. So citizens, particularly the youth, must must leverage on the digital space to as a benchmark for achieving peace and sustainable development, instead of using it for radicalization or extremism. And a supportive social, technological, and educational environment, as well as the capacity to connect the networks and individual with the necessary skills, attitudes, and competencies to use the internet responsibly. It is critical for governments to engage the technological companies effectively, address the violent extremist and terrorist use of the internet and social media, because it has been established that social media contributes greatly to radicalization and extremism. And this social media space is being owned by people. So the government need to engage them, engage these people so as to help in addressing the issue of radicalization and extremism. And companies such as Facebook, Google, among others, can be engaged to assist in identifying red flags for vulnerable individuals. Then government and private agencies need to sponsor researches and seminars that will aid in understanding the online ecosystem, um, online ecosystem and the violent extremist and terrorist group to inform prevention and unearth mitigation strategies. In conclusion, social media, social media has come to stay, irrespective of the role it's playing towards radicalization and extremism. It has come to stay, even though people say, a lot of scholars and people argue that it has contributed a lot to the rise of radicalization and extremism in our society. It has come to stay, and nothing can be done about it. But the key thing is that what can be done is this: a strong online monitoring mechanism at all levels should be created by government so as to help in checkmating extremist activities regularly through the internet and the social media. I think when these things are done, the issue of radicalization and extremism will be checked, and it will be controlled. So I think with this, a positive, there can be a positive outcome as regards radicalization and extremism in the social media. And I must commend some of these social media platforms like Facebook, where when you post something that is violent, it will be censored, and their platform, and extremism can be curtailed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Emeka, for that presentation. I don't know if there are any specific questions, especially because you are talking about the issue of social media. As you've heard, social media is here to stay, but it's one of the contributing factors to the spread of radicalization online. So I don't know if there are any questions I believe probably you might think of how do you actually investigate such radicalization practices happening online, right? That was one of the key issues that we've been able to look at over this training session. So, are there any comments or questions? Comments or questions? All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Emeka. It looks like there are no questions for you today. So we really appreciate for you at least giving your time to present to this audience. And we'd like to finally do one final quick demo session just to give you an idea of what we discussed yesterday, which was the Civic Signal platform. I want everyone to at least have a chance to sign up to the platform and to know some basics on how to use the platform before we end today's session. I know we also have a couple of certificates that need to be issued, so I'll actually allow Tolu and Aliza to just come forward and issue the certificates, because I know there's a couple of us who need to go to the airport as soon as possible. So I'll allow them to actually do that before we finalize with the session. Thank you so much, Mr. Emeka.